Hey, it's JK. Bloodborne is a game that has many amazing bosses, but there's one which always stands head and shoulders above the rest in terms of visual spectacle, engaging mechanics, and diverse moveset. I'm of course talking about Micolash, host of the Nightmare. A boss literally always seen at the top of tier lists made by big shot YouTubers. So the obvious question is, what would it be like to become Micolash, the greatest boss of all time, and try to beat Bloodborne as him? Time for some cosplay, or some say cosmplay? So how will this work? Well, using the magic of Save Wizard, I edit in the Augur of Ebrietas and Call Beyond, the hunter's tools Micolash uses to cast his tentacle and multiple projectile attacks respectively. I also edit in his armor, which consists of the Mensis cage on his head and the student set on his body. I can attack with the two hunter's tools and also my bare fists because Micolash also does that during his boss fight. Now, the problem is that Call Beyond requires 40 arcane to use. Initially, I was going to just start myself off with the arcane to use it, but after trying it out on some bosses, it was clear this was beyond overpowered. It just wrecked a lot of the early bosses and made the run feel too trivial. Even when I added restrictions like no leveling up or no using the rune workshop, it just felt too crazy, and we gotta have some level of challenge in here, right? So I did the only sensible thing, I called for a restart. This time with only the 18 arcane to use the Augur. I'll consider myself phase 1 Micolash at this stage, and when I get to the point where you normally acquire Call Beyond, which is after beating the Celestial Emissary, I'll allow myself to use that, becoming phase 2 Micolash. So let's talk about the Augur. It fires out some tentacles in front with some okay range, costing 1 Quicksilver bullet each time. The damage is quite good, and it also has knockback against a lot of enemies. I can work with this for now. It also behaves like both a heavy charged attack in that hitting enemies from behind with it opens them up for a visceral, and also a gun parry if you hit them when they're about to attack you. Not that we'll be using viscerals, of course. One drawback is it can be a bit slow to activate and does leave you locked in place, so that's something I'll need to be wary of. So this run is a bit different from others I've done in that we don't need to worry about upgrade materials at all. My only concern is bullets. Luckily, this really helpful guy drops 4 bullets guaranteed, so we make a 3 bullet profit each time we kill him. We can also make use of blood bullets to give us a bunch more chances to attack, at the cost of a bit of our health. Normally I do Gascon first because I want to get to higher level upgrade materials as fast as possible, but as we don't need them this time, I go to take out Cleric Heart of Yharnam. Our range thankfully is long enough that we can get that sweet head damage to start and land a follow-up. Damage is not bad actually, as long as we hit the head that is. We also easily have enough bullets too thanks to the 10 lying at the back of the arena. Also, in case you were wondering how much bare fist damage does, yeah, we're not going to use that very much. A few more Hentacle blasts and we declare ourselves as the victor. We can now get ourselves up to 12 vitality and 20 arcane to help things along. We run through the ever-pleasant sewers of Yharnam, get the shortcut elevator unlocked, and prepare to fight Father Gascon. Given that Gascon has less health than Cleric Beast, I'm not too worried about this one. In fact, in his human form, we can almost bully him with the knockdown that the Augur delivers, keeping him farther away from me than he'd probably like. By the time he goes beast mode, his health bar is very low, and actually it took just 2 quick unrepenticle tentacles until he's spenticle. With that sorted, we can make our way into Cathedral Ward, furthering our search for knowledge. We of course do a quick level up of vitality and arcane, you're probably noticing a pattern here, and then try out our tentacles on the locals. The smaller ones take 2 hits to kill, while the big guy takes several more. At least the dogs still go down in 1. We of course make sure to speak to Alfred while we're here. Praise the sun! Wait, that's not right. We pull the lever to move the coffin below, and run on down the way until we make it to Old Yharnam. We speed on through, dodging gunfire, wolves and hunters, and make our way up to this guy, who unfortunately was not able to endure our assault. Teach you for shooting me every time I come here. Time for the next boss, the blood-starved beast. I actually forgot to grab some antidotes before coming here, but luckily there's some stashed at the back of the room. Now, great thing with BSB is that it can be opened up for a visceral if you hit it from behind with the Augur. A follow-up with another Augur then does a nice extra chunk of damage, with the whole combo taking off a good amount of its health. Being that you can walk around quite a few of its attacks, it's quite easy to get her in this position. Things get complicated in the latter portions where even being close by builds up poison on you, but thankfully our damage is enough that we can satiate this beast's hunger with a heavy portion of calamari to the mouth. More arcane and vitality get pumped, and now we can take the lift up from the start of Cathedral Ward. We of course drop off the elevator to get the Formless Odin rune, and then ride the elevator up again to get the Communion rune. Our tentacles didn't quite kill this guy, but we did manage to use our fists for something useful for once. Heading down, I surprisingly made the relevant drops first try without screwing it up. This allowed us to enter the abandoned old workshop, where we grabbed the hunter's bone and the umbilical cord. Worth noting, the hunter's bone is something I think Micolash uses some variation of, but I didn't think it'd be too useful on this run, and 4 bullets to use it is pretty high, so I just opted not to. We also grabbed the doll set, which we'll use to doll out some echoes later. We fill this guy's beast-possessed hole full of tentacles before running through to take the lift up to the later area of Cathedral Ward and open up all the shortcut gates. We then have a run-in with Sack Black, who didn't take kindly to us disliking his Minecraft movie trailer, beating us down and taking us to his basement to listen to him sing Peaches endlessly. Honestly, I'm actually not really sure why I decided to come here, but we light the lamp and grab the moon rune, which could come in handy, I suppose. Oh, and we open this shortcut door. That actually will save us time later. I did actually try Seth MacFarlane as well, but low vitality and an attack that seems to struggle to hit him for some reason makes for a bad time. Yeah, I think I'm going to come back to this one later. Let's head back to the Hunter's Dream for now and make our way to Hemwick Charnel Lane. We kill off the dogs here, who ironically drop loads of shards because of our high arcane stat, but of course we don't need them. I'd normally do a big session of getting twin bloodstone shards here, but instead we just speed on through. Time for the Witches of Hemwick. Now, it is actually possible to stagger lock the witch in place providing you wait for her to stand up before casting again. I managed to get her quite low, but attacked too quickly and she escaped. Thankfully, it wasn't too difficult to find her again, and after a few more augurs to her and then to her sister, we served them up with a nice sandwich of defeat. The reward here is of course the Rune Workshop, allowing us to equip those runes we grabbed earlier for various effects. I also grabbed the Lake Rune which was nearby, leveled up more in the Hunter's Dream, and then equipped the Formless Odin, Lake and Moon runes. Hopefully these runes will vicary us for a while, but now it's time for some reindeer games with Amelia here. For the first time, our damage isn't looking all that great, just over 200 per cast. My best strategy was to try and focus on the limbs and face, which I did manage to break after enough hits for some extra damage. In the final stretch, I managed to get a series of staggers on her. It was an onslaught of augur spam Elia, which eventually brought her down. After another quick level up, Master Willem reminds us that he is the crustiest tosser that ever tossed crust. Probably why he loves blood so much, because his crusty frame is totally devoid of moisture. We then use the password to open the way to the Forbidden Woods, where we take on some locals, but then decide to go in a different way first. We return to the Dream, grabbing the DLC access item for later, and then return to Central Yharnam to speak to Gilbert at his window. Speaking to any of these window NPCs after entering the Forbidden Woods lets you get the Tonsil Stone, which has a very interesting use. Firstly, we head to the right of the Grand Cathedral where we stagger chain this first NPC. That felt pretty satisfying. I tried to do the same with the second one, but he saw me at the last second and avoided the stagger. Thankfully, his silly wooden shield doesn't help him and he dies shortly after. If you venture onwards to the building at the end of this area and stand by the door with the tonsil stone in your inventory, this lesser amygdala with a sore throat mistakes it for a lozenge and picks you up to consume it. Although it actually does nothing for their throat illness, it does allow us to enter the lecture building early, at least the ground floor anyway. We can't get to the Nightmare of Mensis early of course, but we can exit out this door to get to the Nightmare Frontier. There isn't a whole lot here for us, so we run through, bossing our first encounter with this autumn flashlight and get the shortcut unlocked. Amygdala is considered a later game boss, so I decided now was the time to sell the doll set and level up as much as I could, bringing vitality to 22 and arcane to 30. So onto the fight itself. I again had the glitch where I attacked at the start, but despite a damage number showing up, Amy's health bar didn't budge. The good news though is that the augur's attack can actually reach the head, allowing us to make some big brain plays for damage against her. After breaking the head, we do pretty respectable damage with each hit, and it doesn't take too many more to end it. I really had a blast with this one. But you know what else is a blast? Helping the channel towards our new goal of 200,000 subscribers. We can only do it as always with your help. Many watching aren't subs, so please consider subscribing if you think this video doesn't absolutely suck. It's free and you can always change your mind later. Thanks again everyone, I appreciate you all. Right, let's start working towards the 40 arcane we need for Call Beyond. We now one-shot the enemies in the Forbidden Woods with little issue. I opted to just speedrun through to the ladder up into Yharnam, opening up the shortcut gate when I got there, and giving the octopus man a taste of his own medicine. Hopefully this causes him to repenticle. We of course grab the Cainhurst summons from the clinic before running back down to the Forbidden Woods where we experience our canonical death. God damn it. teach you to blast me at close range, you little... The snake men are also easily dealt with, and we unlock the shortcut gate. I didn't really fancy messing about for too long here, so I legged it through before doing something to this pig that will probably get me demonetized. Yuck. So now it's time for the Shadows of Yharnam. They really seem to have a burning desire to meet me this time. Fans of Micolash, perhaps? So, what's the best strat here? Well, I always like to leave the fireball guy for last. In this situation, I find it easier to let the sword one run at you and hit him with augers as he goes to attack. Once he's down, the second one can't hold a candle to him. Okay, that's not entirely true. I actually got this guy down to a tiny bit of health, but then he just started dodging like crazy. I could not land a hit on him for love nor money. Eventually, as I didn't want to run out of vials and ammo, I actually decided to use my bare fist to kill him, which actually worked surprisingly well. With just the fireball guy left, I backed him into a corner and spammed the auger until finally I sent all these shadows back to the Erd tree. With some more levels thoughtfully applied, I ventured yonder into the woods where I was attacked by Jeff Goldblum. There's a reference to a movie released well before most people watching this were even born. Good times, I'm old. Inside Byrgenwerth, I found someone else who was also trying to be a Micolash cosplayer. They were doing a pretty poor job though. Where's your head cage? Our damage to them is quite low, but again, the knockdown spam keeps them cornered and powerless to do anything. You're regretting attacking me now, aren't you? We get the Lunarium key, clear some mold off the balcony, and prepare to fight this 8-legged Romshell. Once a prominent figure, now just a scuttling potato. Honestly, I was expecting a bit more damage to Rom given her weakness to arcane, but at least we can one-shot the spiders. We do at least manage to get her to teleport again quickly for the second time. Trying to actually get hits in during the final phase was quite challenging though. I probably should have killed the smaller spiders in hindsight, but I was worried about running out of ammo. For once, Rom seemed to just use the flopping attacks, which did mean I was almost guaranteed to be punished thanks to my slow cast time. With no vials remaining, I was able to land the last hit, and thankfully end this with a first try victory. Zelda then told us that the blood moon was rising once again, and we find ourselves in Yharnam. I pump up my arcane even more before returning and taking out a bell-ringing woman and making it to the next lantern. The most crucial thing we need here is just below this area. We run back up, dodging Amy's lasers, dropping down, killing another belligerent woman, and then getting the upper cathedral key. My main goal now was to become Phase 2 Micolash, and Upper Cathedral Ward was our destination. We quash some calamari, run past the Doom Wolves, before quashing yet more calamari for the orphanage key, allowing us to open up the front gate. So, all that's left is one easy boss, right? Right? Okay, well, embarrassing deaths aside, this was actually trickier than I had imagined. The main issue is being vulnerable during my casting animation, giving the Emissary 65 time to slap the hell out of me. Our damage certainly wasn't bad, but trying to lock on and fire and not get hit after seemed a near impossibility. It would be super helpful if the auger could hit multiple enemies at once and take out all of these guys in one blast. But anyway, with enough frantic dodging, I finally landed the finishing hit, letting me celestial this victory. We now had enough echoes to level up to 39 arcane, and with a consumable we had on us, we go up to 40. We grab a Call Beyond, and now we can use it at last. And what better target to test it than Ebrietas? So, Call Beyond works like this. It costs 7 bullets, so 5 blood bullets and 2 normal ones will work great. It fires off a load of projectiles for high damage, which we definitely see in Ebby. That's all great, but I feel like we're a bit under-leveled on the vitality side of things because that charge? Yeah, it's a one-shot. That's cause mostly my fault though. On my next attempt, things did go a lot smoother. I stuck mainly with Call Beyond because it was doing around 1000 damage or more with each cast, and I could cast it from a great distance away. Just like everything to do with this boss, space is important. I still had to be careful as Ebby could annihilate my health with just a few strikes if I let her. The damage from Call Beyond was a little inconsistent at times too, but luckily Ebby is a big target and the final cast for some reason did over 1700 damage, which I'm certainly not complaining about. This fight did make me realise that I needed some health investment, so I leveled up vitality with my winnings. Back in Yharnam, I took a quick bath because I knew I'd need it before diving into the filth that is this boss fight. Ugh. I was a little wary of this fight because the One Reborn has huge arcane defense, and yeah, I can guarantee almost any other enemy would be taking way more damage than we were getting here. The controlling body on top takes more damage of course, but we can't guarantee the projectiles will hit it. At one point, we did get lucky and managed to land multiple limb breaks in a row, but it was kinda crazy how even casting Call Beyond at point blank range didn't get us the highest numbers of the fight. For the final couple of hits, I switched to the Augur and fired off 2 casts to finally put an end to Jason Reborn. With vitality now reaching a somewhat respectable 29, I felt confident to move forward. Hey, why does this guy look so familiar? Handsome chap, to be fair. In the lecture building, we can now take the other route out to the Nightmare of Mensis. After unlocking the first shortcut, I was set on sticking it to this annoying Intelligencer guy. Yeah, take that, you're locked in for— oh no, he broke out of it! God damn this guy. He nearly got me, but we turn the tables and show that we're intelligenter than the Intelligencer. What do you mean it's more intelligent? Shut up. Well, it's finally time, the moment the entire video has been building up to. Can I beat the best boss in the game while cosplaying as the best boss in the game? I'm sure this fight will leave a Micolash-ing impression. At first, my doppelganger was a little bit cagey about where he wanted to go, but I soon coerced him into going into this room. I tried Call Beyond, but yeah, that is apparently a lot less effective against him than it likely will be against me. We augur up the puppets, and then back Micolash into a corner, unleashing our NPC stunlock strat on him. Damage was quite low, but he couldn't do all that much. With half his health depleted, we run out of the room, grabbing some bullets lying around on the way. Then, we get Micolash in front of his mirror, and execute the cheese strat to— alright, fine, I suppose if there was any run where we were going to fight him normally, it would be this one. So, after a bunch of running around, we get him to run into this room and then drop down to face him. My plan was more or less the same as phase 1, get him into a corner and stunlock the hell out of him. He did get off 1 cast of Call Beyond, which I thankfully survived, and after that we blasted him repeatedly in the corner until we turned this host into a ghost. Guess I'm the only true Micolash now. Vitality is now at 30 and Arcane is at 42. Stats are looking good. We make our way upwards through Mergo's Loft, sparking a turf war between the pigs and the shads as we go. Damn, the shads actually won this time. Alright, so it's time to school this nurse with my Arcane Burst. The wet nurse, as you probably know, is quite weak to Arcane. She's also a fairly big target, so as long as we stand the right distance away, all or at least most of the projectiles from Call Beyond connect, which means we can chunk off some huge damage. The wet nurse does have quite high health, so it still takes a fair few of them to get the job done. It's still weird to me that doing this attack at point blank range somehow causes so many of our shots to miss, but I suppose I just need to play keep away more. I did actually run out of bullets for Call Beyond right as the nurse was on low health, so I had to switch to the Augur to get the last couple of hits in. Our submersive strategy pulls out the win. After waiting for about 3 years, we finally get the Nightmare Slain message and an umbilical cord. Lovely. We got a good chunk of echoes, so now we're up to 47 Arcane. With that, it was time for some cleanup. First, we head to take on this parlous boss, who to be fair, isn't that dangerous anymore as now Call Beyond just absolutely wrecks him in seconds, leaving him shocked at the result. So there's one other boss we need to handle in the base game before we head to the DLC, based right over here in Stormveil Castle. Oh look, a visual representation of people challenge running Dark Souls 1. I proceeded through the castle, giving these creatures a good battering with tentacles. This one forgot how to fly, and then got stuck here unable to attack. Guess he wasn't well versed in the art of combat. I'm not sure I'll ever get tired of just blasting enemies with this attack. So satisfying. Now, for sake of ease, I intended to do the jump trick to get through Cainhurst quicker, but I kinda messed it up. I mean, it still did skip a little bit of the level, so that's something. So, Martin Ligarius. This was one of the fights I was fearing. He has huge arcane resistance, which makes things tricky, given all our damage is arcane based. If we can get behind him, we can land the Augur and a follow-up for about 600 damage, which isn't the worst, I guess. I tried Call Beyond as well, but that's just nowhere near enough damage for the bullet cost here. One good thing is we can stun him out of his phase 2 buff by hitting him behind with the Augur as he charges up, so that helps a little. I did try Call Beyond again in phase 2, but again the damage just isn't really there. At least I can use my fist to break his projectile firing sword this time. But given the imminent danger that the DLC bosses presented, this felt like a good time to improve our build to stop this fight being a tearjerker for me. First, I realised that the Moon rune probably wasn't helping me out all that much anymore, and wisely swapped to the Communion rune for more blood vials. Then, I got the pigs and the shads to engage in about 30 or so more turf wars, which allowed me to do a huge level up and get up to 60 arcane and 35 vitality. Hopefully this will help. On my next attempt, I did try Call Beyond in phase 1, and although initially I got some more encouraging damage, he then annoyingly started dodging the projectiles and wasting bullets was my biggest fear. Plus, now with an Augur from behind followed by a second, I got about 700 damage, the same as I was getting from the Call Beyonds anyway, but at the cost of only 2 bullets versus 7. What followed was a massive game of patience waiting for the few attacks I could reliably punish by getting behind him. So yeah, basically just the flying attack. After a few more of these, we were able to clear this guy out of our backlogarius of bosses. We then switch headgear for the only point in the whole run as we put on the crown to reveal the hidden area on the roof. Once inside, we grab the unopened summons, go give them to our boy Alfred, and then find he's destroyed the Vile Blood Queen by smashing her into paste. Completing his quest gives us the Radiance rune, which grants us an extra 2% healing from blood vials. That might not sound like a lot, but that's because it isn't. Well, time for the DLC at last. Yuck, why are her hands so sweaty? I guess that's why they call her Clamigdala. The DLC has many tough enemies, like this hunter who vows to whip us into shape. Shame I had more whips than him though. I remembered to grab the eye pendant this time. Always have to congratulate myself for remembering to do that. Now though, it's time to get Ludwiggy with it. The good news is that he doesn't have that much arcane resistance in phase 1, and he's a rather large target, meaning Cool Beyond can do some pretty silly damage here. It actually only takes 4 casts to enter phase 2. After witnessing the greatest phase transition cutscene in the series, fight me, I prepare some more blood bullets. Now, he does get a significant boost to his arcane damage here, but we can still get some decent hits. There's certain attacks where he leaves himself open, like the AoEs or the slash where he moves backwards. After an epic projectile dodging showdown, he went for his big charge up attack again, which I avoided, landed another Cool Beyond leading to a stagger, and then got in close for 2 augers that divorces Ludwig from this mortal coil. Oh wait, he's not dead. There we go. His source code has been deleted. This time round, the church hunters from before did give me some issues. I ended up luring one of them down these stairs and auger spamming them into oblivion. Thankfully, the other one didn't follow down here, but don't worry, she got a taste of the same shortly after. I felt this time I wanted to mix things up, so I grabbed Lawrence's spicy skull and headed back right away to take him on. He roared so loud that it was an 8 on the Clerichter scale. I had thought this fight might be quite tough, given he apparently has good arcane resistance, but yeah, backing away and casting Cool Beyond in phase 1 is kind of a broken strategy. In fact, I got him down to about 15% health remaining without taking a single hit, which is kinda wild. It was only here that I took my first hit from him. Kind of annoying as I would have liked to do him hitless, but what are you gonna do? I actually again ran out of bullets, meaning I would need to resort to the auger to finish the job. Weirdly, actually hitting him with it was a bit tricky, like why the hell did this miss? But finally, we managed to get the right openings and send Lawrence Fishburne back to the Matrix. Time for some fun in the research hall. This patient was a bit restless and ended up running off the edge as a result. Does that make them an impatient? Okay, I deserve that. So the next boss is the Living Flailures, called as such because they love wildly flailing around. Cool Beyond again does some good damage here, but their health bar is huge, second only to Lawrence in the DLC, and once again, I run out of bullets. So it's back to fishing for auger back blasts. The meteor shower attack is easily the best time, and after some further projectile dodging and tentacle blasting, we unlife the failures and move yonder. Lady Maria, a human-sized enemy. So yeah, this was nearly one of the most disrespectful Lady Maria fights ever. We stunlocked the hell out of her, only her phase transition hyper armor saving her. But nothing stopped us from just repeating this in the next phase, until again, the phase transition hyper armor saved her. For this final part, she seemed to get really pissed off. Things started okay as we got the stunlock in, but this bit of furniture got in the way and she broke out of it. After this, she let out an onslaught of attacks preventing us from getting it in again. I actually nearly died at one point, but finally, I landed the last hit as she attacked, only barely surviving myself in the process. We at last leave this boss in our rear view. I use all the souls we've gained to get to 64 Arcane as I prepared for the final challenge. It was time to enter the fishing hamlet, the only place in the series with weather that perfectly imitates the UK. For some reason, Brador here couldn't be pushed off this roof, but I bet he wishes he could have been. That probably would have been better than this. But enough messing around, you all know what we're here for. From the moment I thought of doing this run, I knew this would be our biggest challenge by far. The Orcos of Fun, a joyous boss. How did this go, I wonder? So, yeah, not good. Orphan has huge arcane resistance, but even landing a hit safely in the second phase is very tricky, and he can eviscerate our health in seconds if we mistime a dodge. Also, I kept finding myself running out of vials because I kept getting hit waiting for a chance to attack. the Augur is definitely the best shout over Call Beyond. In the first phase, there's way more opportunities to get behind him, but sometimes, even if it seems like you are behind him, casting the Augur just doesn't stagger him for whatever reason, and if that happens, you're in trouble. Also, can someone explain to me how this hit me here? Anyone? So it's time to improve our build some more, and that means a bit of Chalice dungeon diving. We first go into the basic Thumerian Labyrinth Chalice. We unlock the boss door, make the undead giant dead, then slaughter the Watcher Trio boss at the end of the next layer to get the Root Chalice. With this, we can now access the Glyph Chalice XC284UGX. In the side area at the start, we can get the Best Communion rune for 5 extra vials. If you then open the boss door, you can get to another side area before the boss to get the Best Formless Odin rune. With these equipped now, with the +4 Communion rune from earlier, we now have 25 bullets and 29 vials on us. Now, did this help? Well, it may not look like it initially, but more ammo is always a good thing. I did actually try using Call Beyond on some occasions, and I could get decent damage like here, but the problem was it just wasn't consistent, and he jumps around way too much to rely on the projectiles hitting him. Nope, there was no Augur way but to tentacle attack him. Let's get it. With that 11 minutes of joy complete, we send Orphan's soul off to the Shadow Realm. See you later, little buddy. I realised we hadn't gotten the last umbilical yet, but we couldn't use our Augur on Yosefka here because pregnant women can't eat seafood, so a Call Beyond had to suffice. We gobble down the umbilical cords, which will never feel like a good thing to say, and then tell German to go stuff his offer to kill us. Why did you think I'd say yes to that? So, initially I thought I could just blast him down and stunlock him with the Augur, which did kinda work initially, but in the latter phases, he actually can just hyper armor through our attacks. It still wasn't too bad honestly, compared to Orphan anyway, quite manageable some might say. With a few more hits, he's defeated. But then, Christmas came early as the moon decided to give us some presents. He doesn't like arcane damage very much it seems. I was running a bit low on vials and bullets by this point, so I had to switch back to the Augur. With a couple more of these, the nightmare is finally over and Micolash gets to turn into a space slug. The true ending of Bloodborne as he finally acquires all the knowledge and power he craved. Well, this was fun, actually quite a viable build, definitely a good way to Miko crash a party. If you enjoyed the video, let me know in the comments below, and please do hit me up with a like and subscribe if you want to support the channel. Until next time, I've been JK Leeds, see ya, and have a good one.